story of Rosa Parks. Rosa Louise McCauley was born on February 4th, 1913 in Muskegon, Alabama. Her parents got a divorce and her mom got the family to move to Pine Level. Rosa's grandparents were slaves and strong advocates for racial equality. Rosa attended segregated schools in Montgomery. In 1929, while a junior in 11th grade, she left school to attend her sick grandmother in Pine Level. She never returned, but instead, she got a job at the shirt factory in Montgomery. In 1932, Rosa married a barber named Raymond Parks, who was an active member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. With Raymond's support, Rosa Parks finished her high school degree in 1933. She soon became actively involved in the civil rights issues. The Montgomery, Alabama City Code required that all public transportation be segregated and that bus drivers had the power of a police officer of the city while in actual charge of a bus for the purposes of carrying out the provisions of the code. While operating a bus, drivers were required to provide separate but equal accommodations for white and African American passengers by assigning seats. A line was made roughly in the middle of the bus to seat the white passengers in the front and the African American passengers in the back. When an African American boarded the bus, they had to get on at the front to pay their fare and had to reboard and get on at the back of the bus. When the seats in the front filled up and more white passengers got on, the bus driver would move the sign back, separating black and white passengers, and if necessary, ask black passengers to give up their seats. On December 1st, 1955, after a long day at work at the Montgomery Fair Department store, Rosa Parks boarded the bus for home. She took a seat in the first several rows designated for colored passengers. Though the city's bus ordinance did give the authority to assign seats, it didn't specifically give them the authority to demand that a passenger give up a seat to anyone, regardless of color. However, Montgomery bus drivers had adopted the custom of requiring black passengers to give up their seats to white passengers. If the black passengers protested, the bus driver had the power to refuse the use of the bus and had the power to and could call the police to have them arrested. As the bus Rosa was riding continued on its route, it began to fill with white passengers. Eventually, the bus was full and the driver noticed that several white passengers were standing in the aisles. He stopped the bus and moved the sign separating the two sections back one row and asked 4 black passengers to give up their seats. 3 complied, but Rosa refused and remained seated. The driver demanded, "Why don't you stand up?" To which Rosa replied, "I don't think I should have to stand up." The driver called the police and had her arrested. Later, she recalled that her refusal wasn't because she was physically tired, but that she was tired of giving in. The police arrested Rosa at the scene and charged her with violation of Chapter 6, Section 11 of the Montgomery City Code. She was taken to police headquarters, where later that night she was released on bail. On December 8th, Rosa faced trial and was found guilty. She paid $10 plus a $4 forfeit. On the evening Rosa Parks was arrested, Edie Nixon, head of the NAACP, began plans to organize a boycott of the Montgomery's city buses. Ads were placed in local papers and handbills were printed and distributed in black neighborhoods, asking that all African Americans avoid the city buses. The boycott was very successful and lasted from December 5th, 1955 for the next 382 days and resulted in a law requiring segregation on buses to be lifted. This was one of the largest and most successful movements in the history of the fight for racial equality.